All right, I just want to say thank you, first of all, to all of you who are on here. So many of you made the commitment to be here. As I mentioned before, we want to really dial up the value and the support that we're providing here in LaunchStreet by giving you more bursts of innovation. I was talking to someone the other day about this, just to set the context for today's conversation about the change curve and understanding where we are and where our teams are so we can lead them through it. He said to me, Tamara, that whole innovate or die or disrupt or be disrupted, he said, I would head nod and head shake to it at the same time. He said, because intellectually I knew it was true, but I had time, right? It wasn't something I had to worry about right away. He said, now I have a layer of urgency that I've never had. He said, I have it internally for the processes, working remote, figuring out a whole new way to kind of be a team. He said, and I have it externally with the products and the services that I'm delivering. I got to rethink how I deliver in a relevant way. So for all of us at Everyday Innovators out there, I just want to say kudos, because it's those of you who are taking the time to do this, invest in yourself and start that conversation and that action around innovation now. You're the ones who are going to be stronger on the other side. And as I put in a post the other day, Michelle Kinney, who I greatly admire, she's a CrossFit Games athlete and the owner of the CrossFit gym that I go to that's shut down right now. She said, Tamara, the obstacle is the opportunity. And it's those of us who start to see that now that will come out on the other side stronger, because I know this sucks and I know that this is frustrating and coronavirus has got us all in this crazy town. But that doesn't change the fact that innovation is our competitive advantage moving forward. There's just more urgency than ever before. So the reason I wanted to start this kind of series of free vlogs with the change curve is because I think the first step in understanding how to navigate all this is understanding where we are on the change curve and where the people we're leading are on the change curve, because understanding that will help us move them forward. I know, because you're here, you're probably going to be on the right side of the curve I'm going to show you. Now, as I start to share my screen, I just want to say to you, if you have a question, all you got to do is either stick it in the chat bar or click the Q&A button. You can even do it anonymously if you want to. If you're worried about being recognized or whatever, I get it. So either way is going to work. If you've got a comment, something that's really speaking to you, put that in the chat bar, because I think it's helpful for us to kind of hear or see what other people are thinking as well. All right, we got 8 minutes, so I am going to get to it and show you the change curve. Let me share. Let me get to that. My screen. Let me go slideshow. Hopefully you guys can all see it. Awesome. Okay. This is the change curve. It's actually adopted from the Kubler-Ross model. And let me just tell you that the Kubler-Ross model came from a psychiatrist who actually studied terminally ill patients to understand the stages of grief. And what we came to realize over many, many years is that those stages of grief also reflect the stages that we go through when we're dealing with massive change. So let me go through them for you. I'm going to first explain the stages, and then I'm going to show you how they show up in ourselves and the people around us, and what to do about it to get them to the right side of the curve, which is what we want. As I said in the beginning, understanding where you are on this change curve is so important for so many reasons. I think number one, because it gives us a little bit of permission to be like, okay, I'm here, but I can move, right? I don't have to stay here. And it helps us understand the cycles that we all go through. And like I said, it'll make you a stronger, more inspiring leader when you understand how the people around you are dealing with the situation that we're in. All right. So the first of this is shock, right? It's surprise or shock at the event of change. I think a lot of us have been there and moved past that, but shock is the start. Then you go from shock over to denial, right? So denial is kind of disbelief. Oh, Alexa just thinks I'm talking to her. Did you guys hear that? Denial is disbelief, right? Looking for evidence that it isn't true. Like you're kind of arguing with it. You're living in this preferable reality, meaning like how you want to see the world, not how the world really is. The next one is frustration, right? It's a little bit of anger, maybe a lot of anger. It's recognition that things are different, right? And maybe it's a little bit of an external locus of control place, right? That things are happening to you, that you're blaming the outside world forces and people for the situation. So that's kind of frustration or anger. The next one is depression, right? We know that one. Numbness, sadness, lack of energy. It's a passive involvement in the situation. Then it moves over, you can see the curve starting to go up, to experimentation, right? This is an initial engagement with a new situation. You're kind of looking for evidence and small wins. It's a little bit like dipping your toe in the water and kind of seeing how it feels, right? And then we go from there to decision, learning how to work in the new situation, feeling more optimistic, more actively in control, like you've decided that this is what it is and I'm going to move forward. And then the final one, right, is over here. And that's this integration. That's a renewed sense of opportunity. You see the changes for what they are. You are integrating them into your work and life. You adjust and reinvent. That's the mindset you're in. Now, here's what I just want to highlight about this very quickly. It's not that you have to go through all of them. Some people started depression. Some people started decision. Honestly, I think it's a day-by-day thing. I think sometimes we have moments of frustration and rage, and then we move over, at least for me, right, to decision and integration. What's important here is to understand that this is the cycle that we can all go through. And these are the different areas of the cycle, and you probably have different areas where you are. And in fact, if you were to think about yourself right now, where are you truly on this curve? Are you in frustration? Like, what the heck? Why is this happening? Or are you in decision? Like, let me figure this out. Maybe you're already all the way at integration already, but you're somewhere on this curve. We all are. Now, let me show you how these show up, particularly in language and a little bit of action, because you'll see it in yourself and the people around you. So shock is, I call it confused by reality, right? This is like asking people to make sense of things. And you'll hear people around you say, I just don't get it. Like, I just don't understand what's happening. Right? When someone says that to you, they are still in the phase of shock in the change curve, right? And here's the thing I just want to point out. If you're all the way at shock, you're going to have to work them a little harder to get to integration. That's the other thing I want to point out here. That doesn't mean they're going to just jump right away. You might have to work a little extra harder for them. The next one is, so for denial, right? So that's argument with reality. I just want things to go back to normal. I'm just waiting it out. Right? I actually have a colleague who sent me a text that said, I'm going to get ice cream or something like, it started with, I'm so like, this is getting to me. I just want things to go back to the way they were. And my response was, I don't think there is a way they were. I think it's what we're looking at, like the new normal, the next normal, right? That's that denial, right? You're looking for evidence that this is just going to blow over. In frustration, right? That's the blame game with reality. I think there's a lot of people in this phase. If my company had only done this, things would be different for me right now, right? If those other people would just do this, if this hadn't happened, I would be blah, 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 right? That's how you notice people who are in frustration, right? Do you see the blame game for everybody else? And look, obviously, the people on this call did not create the coronavirus, but there are things in our control and things out of our control. And being in the frustration phase is about blaming everything else and not taking control for what we can. So people in the depression phase, right, that's withdrawn from reality. So why bother? Nothing I do anyway matters. Doesn't like it's irrelevant, right? That's what you hear and see when people who are in that side of it. And by the way, it's labeled depression. I would kind of consider it maybe sadness. It's not to say that we are clinically depressed, and maybe for some people, but just to say that we're in that lower end of the curve, right? That sad part of the curve, given everything that's happening. All right, the next one, I got to move myself so I can see the rest of the screen. The next one is experimentation, right? So I call this dancing with reality, right? Because you're like, woo, well, let's see what's happening. Let's see what's going on, right? And it's exactly like people who are in this phase tend to use language like, let's see what's happening when it's a small win, but it's better than nothing, right? They're looking for those little wins. And by the way, as a leader, your team needs those little wins. You got to move them into experimentation to get to this upside of the curve. They need those little wins. Okay, so, I'm jumping ahead. Sorry, the next one is decision, and that's engaged with reality. Here's what we're dealing with. Let's figure this out. Let's figure out the new normal, right? These are people who have made the decision, this is the way it is, and they got to figure it out, right? They're still on the front end of it, but they're moving up that curve. And the last thing you'll see is like integration, right? These are people who are in the driver's seat with reality. I didn't want to say control reality because it's not about that, but it's about like, yep, I'm here, let's do this. Let's adjust our actions. Let's reinvent. Let's figure out the opportunities in the obstacles. Here's the examples I want to give you of how this shows up. So if we looked at kind of this left side of the curve, right? Depression, frustration, denial, shock, all this. I wrote these down because I've been seeing all these examples of people and actions, businesses that are on the left side of the curve. And we want our teams to be on the right, because those of us on the right are the ones who are going to be stronger on the other side. And I know that includes you. So on this side, right, people are playing the discount game. Here's the thing. I don't need 50% off your product if your product isn't relevant to me, right? So think about when you're putting stuff out into the world that it's actually relevant to the people on the other side. On a team, you'll see it as people who are doubling down, right? They're just going to do what they've always done, and they're going to do more of it. They're the people who constantly send out emails because they're like in a little bit of a frenzy and just want to make their boss know, I'm here, right? But it's not adding value. That is examples of denial, frustration, and depression. We want to get on the other side. So how do you do that? First of all, be real with the people around you. I did a whole different vlog on this about leading through uncertainty that I think is going up today. So you can look at the 4 tools that I put in there. But be real with them, but be innovative and be opportunistic. Tools, right? So give them the tools they need to be innovative. Give them some purpose around what they're doing. Here's the thing, people. This to me is the exciting part for us. Innovation, when you innovate, it taps the reward centers of your brain. It releases dopamine. It feels good to be a creative problem solver, a strategic thinker, to figure out some sticky challenge, right? We do it in our personal lives all the time. Give yourself and the people around you the ability to be innovative and to feel good, because it taps your reward center. So in the chat bar, I have a link to our upcoming class in April on innovation. I'm going to tell you right now, the teams that have gone through similar classes, they feel a sense of purpose. They feel a sense of connectedness because they're going through this together, and they know that they're applying this innovation to their real world challenges. Give your team the room and the ability to innovate. Make that the mandate and the tools so they can do it, and you will find them on the experiment, decision, integration side. I highly suggest signing up for this class. The teams that go through it feel a sense of purpose, they feel engaged, but more importantly, they solve the challenges, and that taps that reward center and keeps those wins going. So important that we do that for ourselves and the people around us. Give people an opportunity to contribute. All right. To sum it all up, I hope this was helpful for you, and please tell me if it was in the chat bar, or just tell me personally. Oh, thank you, Greg. That's great. Thank you. I appreciate that. He said, yes, now he understands what he's dealing with the people around him, right? Exactly. It's fascinating. Hold on, let me pull up the chat bar again. Sorry. It's fascinating to understand it in the context of not just ourselves, right? But the people around us. And here's the thing. Oh, good. Thank you, Grace. So helpful. I appreciate that. Here's the thing I also want us to kind of think about. You can be at all these stages in one day. I'm just going to pull back the curtain and be, well, you know, I'm always kind of raw and honest. I don't know why I have to like preface it. Here's the thing. I am having trouble sleeping, right? So I'll wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning in frustration. I will wake up with this chatter in my head of blaming like everything that's going on for my lack of business that like, or I should say my halted business that happened in this time of the year. But you know what? I look at that, I'm like, I'm just in frustration, and that's okay. I'm going to be there for a moment, and then I'm going to move on. And one of the things I've seen leaders do the best, particularly for their team who's on this side of the curve with that depression, frustration, and denial, let them have it for a moment. It's okay. But then, like I said, be real with them. Give them the tools to innovate and contribute and feel good. We need it more than ever. Our businesses and our personal relevancy needs it more than ever, and our teams need it to stay on point and on purpose. I heard the best phrase this morning from, believe it or not, a Peloton instructor who said, when motivation doesn't get you through, discipline does. Discipline is about understanding all of this and applying it. All right, everyone, thank you so much for being here. So appreciate it. If I didn't get to any of your private questions here because of time, I'll try to do so later. I will see you all Wednesday. And hey, do me a favor. On this chat bar, actually do a friend a favor. It's not even me. There's the Zoom link to sign up where you did. Share this with 3 people. We are stronger together. We're going to get through this stronger if we all do this together. So Share this link, this Zoom free burst of innovation with 3 people. Let's get more and more people on here to have these conversations and to understand all of this. So Grace asked if I'll share the recording. Absolutely, I'll share it. I can actually share it directly with you. We post it on social media too. I think it goes on my LinkedIn. But yes, Grace, we'll make sure it gets out. All right, share this with 3 people. Get your teams into the class. Like, let's do this. All right, Tamara out. Now that awkward moment where I have to figure out how to hit end.